Hello, Mark.
Hello, Joey.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
We just finished a very interesting podcast.
Did.
We had another guest on today.
Mr. Luca DeMontis.
Mr. Luca DeMontis.
From Canadian Blind Hockey Canada.
That's right.
He really opened our perspective to a really good program he's helping to run. He is the program manager for Canadian Blind Hockey.
Yeah.
And in this episode, he shares a story about his brother and what they built, and really about an inclusionary sport. And it's really growing fast in this country.
Yeah, it's really cool. Some really touching stories in general. He's
this is a tearjerker.
This is I almost snapped a couple times.
I was border. I'm with you on that. But great podcast. Enjoy it. Luca DeMontis, Canadian Blind Hockey, and all links will be in the show notes. There's going to be a lot on this one because it's a really good topic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
All right, enjoy. Welcome to the Toronto Livings Podcast, a conversation about all things Toronto with a focus on real estate, the culture, and of course, the food.
I'm Mark Savell.
And I'm Joey Virgilio.
And we're realtors with Sage Real Estate, working together as a Toronto Livings team with a focus on helping you buy better, sell higher, and of course, having a little bit of fun along the way. Hello, Joey.
Hello, Mark.
Hello, Luca.
Hello, guys.
Hey. We got another good one today.
Yeah,
I'm excited for this.
Yeah.
We're with a good friend, Luca DeMontis. We've known each other for quite some time.
Long time, grade 9 science class or math class, I think it was.
He's got a good memory. Yeah.
Let's go far back.
We go back to the Cheminade days. Cheminade High School is where we first connected.
All right.
That's true. That is true.
You took off in what, grade 10, 11?
I left after grade 10, yeah.
Smart man.
Hey, but you know what's funny? Like, a lot of my great friends are still from Chaminade, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's the brotherhood that they preach about.
Yeah. It's real, the brotherhood.
It is.
Yeah.
We're here today.
We're here today, man. That's it. We've stayed in touch over the years. We've got a good mutual friend, Adriano Zito, who bonded by food.
Is there another way to bond?
Not in my life. That's the only way we bond. But I always remember from back in the day, even in the grade 9 days, you were always involved in sports in one way or other. I think soccer and hockey were the two main things I remember you were always involved in. And I think that was quite a premonition of where your life was heading, because 15, 20 years later, you are very much involved with blind hockey. And we alluded to kind of what you're doing in the 50th episode. We give you guys a shout out. I've always been kind of watching from afar and just absolutely amazed and jaw dropped in what you guys have put together and how blind hockey has become this definite force in the scene in Toronto. So we want to have you on and kind of talk a little bit about it. Getting into the finer details about you, you've been there since 2011.
Yeah. Thanks for dating me a little bit. But yeah, it's been a long time.
Yeah. And blind hockey kind of started around that time. Is that what your rendition of it?
Yeah, well, blind hockey was started in Canada in like 1936.
Wow.
And then brought to the forefront here in Toronto with the Toronto Ice Owls in 1973. And then in about 2009, my brother went on a journey that I'm sure we'll touch on throughout this podcast. But that's really when the sport kind of made its breakthrough.
Okay. I think we get right into that.
Let's do it.
Talk about your brother, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my brother Mark DeMontis, at 17 years old, had a pretty promising hockey career here in Toronto, playing in the GTHL, and he had dreams. He, like many of us that grew up playing hockey here, he wanted to play in the NHL. That was his dream, and that was his ambition, and he wasn't going to let anything get in his way. So at 17 years old, he had a pretty good career going on here in Toronto, and he wanted to take his talents to the U.S., the market, the NCAA route, try to get a scholarship. And, you know, with a couple offers on the table, his life changed drastically. It was on a golf course. He couldn't see the flag. So we're figuring, well, you're not going to hit the flag anyways from here, so don't worry. None of us could see it, right?
You're golfing with him?
My dad was, right? And I was back at the cottage with my mom and some cousins, and I wasn't too into golf that early in my life yet, as I am now, but we noticed some things were changing. We noticed little things. Maybe it was glasses, we thought, right? So got home from the cottage, went to a vision doctor. Doctor said, you know what? You're still under 18. You should go to Sick Kids, right? So my family, my brother, we all went to Sick Kids Hospital. And very quick, after some tests, we found out that my brother was losing vision and he was legally blind. Wow. Something called LHON, Leber's Hereditary Optic Neuropathy. It takes away your central vision. Instead of quitting, he started asking questions. Why? But it was never why me. It was why now? Why this? And then the biggest question came. what happens with children and youth, kids that are born blind or partially sighted? We were very fortunate. We grew up playing soccer, hockey, any sport that had a ball in it, basketball, football, whatever it was, right? But he very quickly turned and asked, kids that are born blind, what do they get to do for fun?
Right.
And doing some research quickly, we realized there wasn't much for them, right? There wasn't much for them to be involved in, to feel like they were contributing to society, to feel like they were being part of a team. And those are so many important life skills that you learn, right?
Yeah.
So we kept asking more questions, and those led us down a road. He went on and became a Terry Fox humanitarian scholar, attended Western University for 2 years. And during those 2 years, he didn't get on the ice once. And I noticed something changed with him. I noticed the way he carried himself, his demeanor, his love, his passion for hockey was slowly drifting. But then very quick, he realized what he had to do in life. And I was blown away, because there's not many 19-year-olds that come up to you when they come home from school at the dining room table during like Thanksgiving weekend, and he was like, Mom, Dad, I'm going to rollerblade across Canada.
Oh.
And we're like, why don't you start with rollerblading to the store, maybe? You know what I mean? But he was dedicated, right? And this was all instilled through one of his heroes, Terry Fox, right? So he's like, I'm going to rollerblade across this country. I'm going to create an organization called Courage Canada, and I'm going to provide children, youth, the opportunity who are blind and partially sighted to get on the ice, to learn to skate, and to play our nation's game.
Wow.
And at that moment in life, I knew that we're going to be on a roller coaster here.
Yeah.
We're going to be seeing some sights in this country that I can't even ever think that I'd imagine seeing them. We're going to meet some people that are not only going to open doors, but they're going to shake the world with us.
Wow.
And I think that was the beginning. So it was cool. It's a little history of what got us here today. But the one thing that stayed parallel through the whole mission was community, friendship, dedication, and the most important was courage.
Right.
Right. So those were 4 elements that we built off of. We built what was almost like a campaign.
Yeah.
Right.
It very much sounds like it. You're describing it like you got your pillars in place, and
we left from Weston Arena at Weston and Lawrence.
yeah, that's your home arena where you guys kind of grew up.
That's where the dreams were started, right?
Yeah.
From running around the rink, getting on the ice, playing the game that we now love today, right? So that's where the dreams were instilled. And then 113 days later, we arrived in Vancouver, home of the 2010 Winter and Paralympic Games, and that was part of the plan, of course, right? Like, let's go to where the games are going to be, right? So it was an amazing time. My brother and 3 of his best friends, and myself, would jump in and out of where I can help.
Yeah.
Can I do fly back home? And throughout all this, like, I was still working as the Toronto Raptors at that time, and helping my brother create this organization, right? With like documentation and lawyers and everything, right? Things that never really thought we would know as young 22 and 24-year-olds.
For sure.
Right? Like, this is not stuff sitting in boardrooms with people double my age, wearing nice suits, and I'm like, I guess I should put on a collared shirt for this, right? So it was amazing. So many lessons we learned. But I think all that hard work gets us to where we are today.
I remember vividly watching you guys on Facebook. That was the thing that we would do to the time. Like, Facebook was in, right?
Yeah.
And I remember seeing you guys doing the rollerblading, and you kind of, like you said, jumping in, jumping off at different points of it. How long did it take him to get across?
113 days.
Wow.
2009. And then, of course, my brother said, well, I didn't really skate the whole country. I was like, no, you're right, you didn't. So my parents, Italian immigrants, came to Canada to provide a better life for their family, like so many other Italians have. And my parents immigrated to Halifax, Pier 21.
Okay.
So what better idea than, well, let's skate from Halifax to Toronto.
Amazing.
So we left in 2011, Pier 21 in Halifax, where my parents came to give us a better life. And that was 66 days later.
Wow.
We arrived back at Weston Lions Arena and, checked off another inline skate. And, like, as I said, we cannot take credit for this. This was done for a reason. But so many people helped out.
Yeah.
So many people, right? From the smallest town to the big cities, right? And it's true definition of this country of community.
Yeah.
And we got to see it firsthand.
Yeah. So I feel like that definitely brought a lot of exposure to what you guys are doing. I'm sure that turned a lot of heads. I remember like tuning in all the time, like, where are they now? Okay, they're this place, they're this place. So did that kind of start the process of this organization of Blind Hockey Canada? Or like Courage was what you guys had, and then what came in?
Yeah, so my brother started Courage Canada in 2009. And then in about 2015, 2016, we started like almost looking at the organization. We were like, let's kind of look from the outside in. And if you are a partner, if you are a person that's interested in getting involved, does Courage Canada really kind of explain what we are as an organization? So we almost like took like a marketing dive into it, right? And in today's time, as you both know, it's so important, right? Like during our inline skates, as you mentioned it, like Facebook and Twitter were how we're going to reach the masses, right? How we're going to share our stories. And I'll never forget like the first big follow we got on Twitter, and then followers kept coming in on Facebook, and it's like, wow, like people really care what we're doing, right? They're genuinely asking questions. How's it going? How can we help? How can we donate? And it's like, at that point, you know you're doing something right. So let's continue to do this. Let's continue to use this drive. And then it was about 2016 where we rebranded from Courage Canada to Canadian Blind Hockey, right? And I feel with the new logo, the new name of the organization, it really depicted what we did. We were Canadians who were blind that play hockey.
Yeah.
Right. So
that's the most direct.
Yeah, like marketing 101 check, right? Who do we send the invoice to, really? Right? But it worked, right? And to this day, it's a brand that we continue to build, not only in Canada. Our mission is to be world leaders.
Yeah.
So we're here to help any country in the world that wants to create programs, develop programs, or even just learn what we're doing.
Yeah.
We're here to help them.
I think that was the biggest like curiosity that spiked for me, is like, you hear blind and hockey in itself is incredibly hard to play, right? If you're not, skating is a whole skill set in its own, and now you're incorporating the stick and the puck and everything else. And then the challenge of not having, vision, it was like, how does this happen? Like, how do you do this? And you brought you brought a puck for us today.
Oh yeah.
Because I think that is kind of the central piece of the play.
It's one of our biggest adaptations, right? So to make the sport accessible for children, youth, and adults who are blind and partially sighted, you really got to adapt the sport, right? So you think off the bat, as you mentioned, would blind and partially sighted individuals see a little biscuit on the ice?
Yeah.
Not really.
Yeah.
So how do we let them know that there's a puck on the ice, right? So yeah, Mark, you could pick that up and you'll be able to tell right away.
You want to do the honors, Joey?
Let's do it.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So it's hollow steel. There's 8 ball bearings inside.
Sorry, I'm going to put this down. It's making...
Yeah, for sure. I always love having that up at the dinner table, right? And it's always like, oh, listen to this, right? But it's made of hollow steel, 8 ball bearings. As the puck moves around the ice, it echolocates for the visually impaired players where it is.
Yeah.
Right? And one thing I do have to touch on for sure is our players, their vision ranges.
Yeah.
Right. So from legally blind to fully blind.
Right.
And one of the coolest things, our goalies are completely blind.
Wow.
Yeah. Right. So they are real guardians of the iron cage, as it's called. Right. So and we really kind of preach communication. It's so important because as two players can't see the same thing,
right,
but they can communicate with one player that could see a little bit more than the other player, potentially where the puck is. And it's just remarkable when you see the game played, how they listen for voices, right? Listen for the puck, and how distinctly they know their teammate's voice, right?
How in tune they are, yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's beautiful.
So it's probably a louder form of play, like they're yelling at each other a little bit more than your standard hockey. What about rules? How does it, is it the same 5-on-5?
You know what? We didn't want to touch much.
Yeah.
I'll be very honest. We didn't want to touch much. The rules are the same. Icing, offside, a lot of those rules are the same. But we knew we had to add a couple minor adaptations to make the game not only flow,
right,
but to make it accessible, right? So the puck being one of the biggest adaptations. Another adaptation is we have this rule called the one pass rule.
Okay.
Right? So it's actually beautiful. I love it. But as I mentioned, no two players have the same vision. So to refrain from having a player start behind his net and just dangle everybody and tuck the puck in,
right,
when you are attacking and you pass the blue line, you must make one successful pass to your teammate.
Love it.
When that pass is made, the referee will blow a high-pitch whistle. Now, that high-pitch whistle is so important because now it lets the offensive team know, okay, the next shot, we're shooting to score. But more importantly, it lets the defensive team know that, oh, passes made, we gotta
Defend
now. Like we gotta buckle down and like get the puck and get it out of our zone. And as I mentioned, with the goalies being completely blind, when the puck's in their zone, they don't know if it's their team or the other team that has the puck.
Right.
So now when the goalies hear this whistle, they know the game's on. Like they got to get ready to make a big save.
Right.
And it's beautiful. I've seen some goals that are just like Sportsnet top 10 highlight goals, right? And I think it's a testament to the players because we got some very skillful players in this country.
Right.
It's incredible.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. That's I've seen some of your clips. And I was browsing through the website, and it's like Sportsnet. Like you're watching the game and you're seeing the dangles happen and deking out the goalies. It's pretty cool to see that kind of all come to fruition.
I love it. I don't think there's a better goal than seeing a beautiful pass is made and then a player just rips a puck bar down and you're like, this is hockey.
Yeah,
right?
So cool.
This is what we're playing. And then, of course, a couple minor other adaptations. When a goal is scored, the referee will blow 2 whistles.
Okay.
Just to really emphasize to the goalie that, hey, you just let it a puck. But it's also to distinct it from being different than the goalie smothering the puck with 1 whistle. As we continued to grow, we knew that we had to adapt more. Right. So we don't make any of these rules or modifications by ourselves as an organization. We've got incredible stakeholders, right? The voice of these players, the community is so important to us. So we noticed early we were getting high scoring games, right? And the goalies weren't too happy with their gameplay because of the score, and you could understand. So we had like a goalies meeting, right? And if you know goalies, they're a rare breed of themselves, right? But one of them and a couple of them came up with this idea, well, let's just make the net smaller. I was like, that's not a bad idea, right? So when the puck is in the air, it makes very minimal noise. So if the goalies can't hear it, they can't track it to know how to stop it. So we took off the top foot of the net.
Oh.
So we worked with a custom net agency and we made 3 feet height nets. Traditional hockey nets are 4 foot in height, right? So these are 3 feet. And we noticed, hey, we might have just created something here.
Nice.
It was more of a hockey score, right? 4-2, 4-3, 5-2. We were taking out those football scores, right? And the goalies felt like they were contributing to the team, right? A big save could turn around the whole momentum of a game. Your team's now on the attack. You get a goal. You feel like you just contributed to that, right? Instead of a face-off being at center, 2 whistles, continue to play, right? So very important listening to the group, listening to the community. And we came up with some incredible adaptations that now make the sport played by children, youth, and adults who are blind and partially sighted.
Wow.
Very cool. Is this a continuing, it's such a creative way to approach this. Is it continuing to this day? Like, are there still pieces of the puzzle? I mean, we were talking a little bit earlier about the fact that what blind hockey really did was take all of these people who are playing blind hockey very differently and start making it kind of one consistent rule set. And I thought that was so incredible that
I won't say we're finished. I'd say that it's always like a puzzle that we're looking for that next piece, right? So if our key stakeholders came up to us, as the players came up to us and be like, hey, you know what? We should really think about maybe this as a rule, or we would definitely listen to them because I think they're so important to this game, this sport that they've helped create, right? Their dedication to this game is unparalleled. And usually if they're coming to us with a suggestion or idea, it's probably because they know it might work. So never know. It's never no. It's always like, well, tell me more.
Let's see what we can do with this.
Right. And we've actually even hosted sometimes at our summer camps where we try these rules, right? During like a scrimmage. Well, let's try it here, right? Because there's nothing on the line, right? And it shows, more importantly, to the community that not only are we listening, but we're here to work together on this, right? And because I'm a big believer, and my whole team at Canadian Blind Hockey is big believers that we're not going to do this by ourselves, right? Like
it's a community.
And you know what, Mark? You mentioned that, but when my brother thought he was like creating a sport and an organization, the one thing we didn't think we were actually creating was a community.
Right.
But from that community, we've now created a family.
That's amazing.
Like we got players and families that go on vacation together. We host events across the country. There's players that literally plan their vacation around where our next blind hockey event is.
That's awesome.
Right? So like, when are we going back to Vancouver? I got a friend that lives in Whistler. It's like, me too. Let's go. Right?
Nice.
So it's from a community to a family. And I think that's part of the power of sport.
Yeah.
Right.
Brings everyone together. I want you to touch a bit more on the puck and the adaptation of it over the years, because you told us off air, and I think that's definitely a fascinating piece.
Such a cool story
of how it all came to be. So we currently have this 5-6 inch.
Yeah, no, this is our puck. We've played with a few different variations of blind hockey pucks. At one point here in Toronto, the Toronto Ice Owls were playing with like a wagon wheel with some bearings inside.
Like from a barbecue.
Yeah, from a barbecue, right? It was like, oh, it's got a team barbecue. Take off the wheel. Let's play some blind hockey now, right? In Montreal, they were playing with an apple juice can. And in Vancouver, they were playing with something literally that was almost like a traditional puck. And it was like a missile. It was just same size as a puck, but made of steel. And it was just like, you got to feel for anybody that wants to block a shot there, right? So, in creating Courage Canada, what my brother really wanted to do was create a unified set of rules, but also one puck. Right? Like, if we're going to play together, we should be playing with the same puck or the same rules, right? So at that point, that was so important for the organization to not only standardize the rules and the puck, but it showed how dedicated we were to not only those 3 clubs, but any new existing clubs following those 3. We're here to help you. We're here to help you with pucks. We're here to help you with the rules. And we're here to help you create a program that can grow just as the program in these 3 cities have grown, right?
It's incredible how fast you guys have moved this along. Like, in 15 years to go from an idea to a full-on tournament that you guys host, organization. Talk to me about some of the adaptive rules that you had to change. Like you said, the slap shots and stuff like that.
Yeah, so there's no slap shots. Stick can come to your waist. And these are things you learn, right, as you're developing a sport, which is funny to say that now. But yeah, there's a lot of rules. And like, everybody would always say, but aren't they always offside?
Right.
Well, they are, but because of the great relationship we have with all our refs, the refs really communicate so much out there. So a delayed offside, the ref is not just yelling offside, but he's making sure to yell the color of the jersey. And that's a very cool adaptation that leads me into is if you're watching hockey on TV, you'll always see one team wear a white jersey and the other team wears a dark jersey. Very quickly, we realized white jerseys do not work in our sport, right? With the contrast of the boards, the contrast of the ice.
Right.
And now you throw in white jerseys and socks in the mix. That's a recipe for disaster, right? So, of course, going back to our community, what's a better color, right? And very quickly, we learned it was yellow. So you'll always see one team wear a yellow jersey and another team wear a dark jersey, black, blue, red, whatever it might be, right? So you'll always see a home team wearing yellow, and it's one thing that I think stands out right away, right? You walk into a hockey arena, you're like, oh, there's the white team, there's the dark team. Wait a second, where's the white jersey? Right? So right away, that kind of makes you know now, hey, I'm at a blind hockey game, right? But aside from that, to be honest, not many people can tell the differences. Right? You hear the puck, you see the jersey, you don't really notice the net until you zone in on it. You're like, that net looks a little smaller, right? But it's hockey, right? At the end of the day, we wanted to kind of make as minor of changes as possible to not take away from the game. Because this is the game that all these individuals have grown up playing, watching, idolizing, right? Replicating that Game 7 overtime winner in their driveway, right? So we didn't want to change too much of it. We wanted to keep it as much hockey as possible, but we had to add in the adaptations to just make it accessible.
For sure.
And that was the biggest thing, always with a lens of accessibility.
Yeah, that's very cool. Okay, so talk to me about, so if someone's just hearing about this for the first time, where would you kind of get them started on? Like, how should they inquire or join? Where would the starting steps be?
Yeah, starting steps would be, I always encourage people to visit our website, do a deep dive into the organization, because we get people that want to become volunteers, but we get people that want to be a player, right? Like, I'll get emails and it'll be like, hey, I'm blind. Just saw you on the news. How can I play? It's like, well, okay, let's start. Where are you from, right? Because that helps me then determine, okay, what city are they from? Because where's our closest program I can incorporate them into, right? And it's like, how old are you, right? Like, what's your age? What's your visual impairment? What's your vision classification? There's so many questions I ask in return, but it's always, website. But now, of course, in the year and era that we're in, before our website, I've noticed a lot of people are either going to our TikTok, our Instagram, our X, profile account, right? And that then leads them to the website,
Right.
Which has my information and my team's information, and then we'll get emails, right? How do I get involved?
Right.
I've been a coach my whole life, and I want to continue to coach.
Well, that's the one thing that I was noticing was that, like, even just explaining it, the refs have to learn a completely different set of rules, and like that's a whole different skill set that you're jumping into. So there's so much more opportunity than just, hey, I want to play hockey. There's a lot around it, right?
Yeah, like you touched on the refs. Our refs are incredible. They get chirped a lot. But hey, show me a ref that doesn't get chirped, and I'll tell him that he did a great job, I guess, right? But no, we've got a great relationship here in Toronto with the GTHL. They're always incredible at providing refs at all of our events. But you're right, they had to learn a whole new set of rules, right? And it's almost kind of demeaning when a player knows the rules more than the ref does, and he's kind of questioning the ref on a rule, and the ref's trying to stand their ground, right? And go with the call that they made. But yeah, we're always looking for any type of volunteer, and usually that's what it comes down to. They visit our website, want to get involved, and they want to help out. And I think that's the biggest thing. They want to help out. Got
you. How about programs in general? What kind of programs do you guys offer?
So I've got the incredible role of program director, and I get to travel across this beautiful country. Like, if there's one thing I could say, yes, it's fun to go to Miami. It's fun to go to New York. It's fun to travel abroad out Europe, but Canada is beautiful.
Yeah, we have so much in our backyard that we don't know.
Canada is absolutely beautiful. And you know, I've been very fortunate to see this country from coast to coast to coast. And putting on these programs put a smile on my face.
That's amazing.
When I get to go to a program in a small city, and a kid walks in and he's coming in tapping his cane, and I just see a smile on his face, and I introduce myself, and then this child comes to me and says, "Wait, are you Mark DeMontis' brother? He plays on Team Canada." I'm like, "Yes, I'm his brother," kind of thing, right? And they'll start telling me stories about other games that they've watched on YouTube.
So good.
It's remarkable, that's right? Amazing. But our programs are our backbone of this organization, right? We've got programs from coast to coast to coast. One of my favorite programs is our tri-blind hockey program, where we literally work with school boards across this country. And in that school board, they bring all the blind and partially sighted kids together for a field trip day.
Nice.
So traditionally, we would go on field trips, you know, growing up. And for myself, I can only speak on that. I never really had a kid in any of my classes that had a visual impairment, right? But I do know of them now, and I know there's a lot of them now, right? But when they go on these field trips with their able-bodied classmates, there's nothing really there that makes them kind of feel part of the group, right? So like, you're at the ROM and you're looking at everything. Who's there to explain what you're really looking at, right? So what we do is we bring all these kids together, all these blind and partially sighted kids together for a field trip day, and we get to go to a rink. We have lunch. We learn about blind hockey. We do a couple off-ice workouts. I always bring a special guest, a member from our national blind hockey team or a member from one of our partners to share a little bit about their story, and then we get ready to get on the ice.
Yeah, get in there.
Oh, the kids go crazy in the change room, right? And I think one thing that's so symbolic is, and I never take this for granted, is giving them a Canadian blind hockey jersey. So every kid that attends our program gets a jersey, and for a lot of them, it's their very first jersey they've ever owned, right? So when you see them putting that on, you see that smile on their face. Like, I'm a grown man, but I will admit, I've cried.
Of course.
I've cried in change rooms, and I've seen parents cry. And I think that's the power that lets you feel like you're part of this community, right? And when I have a parent come up to me and say, "I never thought that I'd be a hockey dad," or "I never thought I would be in an arena," as they're there drinking a Tim Hortons coffee, right? And now they go to work the following week and they share these stories that all their colleagues are sharing about the away tournaments, or "You should have seen my son's hockey game this weekend," or "My daughter scored 3 goals this weekend," right? They now get to feel included in that too, right? At the boardroom with their colleagues. And I think that's so important, right? So I love our Triad events because that's where we get them on for like first time awareness, right? When they get on the ice, and you can understand, like, getting a visually impaired kid on the ice, him knowing it's ice, right away they think, well, what if it melts? Is it going to be turned into a swimming pool? It's like, no, we're all good here. Don't worry. These skates could help us swim over any type of water possible, right? So you really give them everything to succeed, every type of resource we can to succeed. So I love those programs. And then from there, we go into like our youth blind hockey programs, right? Here in Toronto, we got the Toronto Junior Ice Owls. We got programs in Brantford, Windsor, Ottawa, Calgary, Halifax, like just across the country, right? But this is not something that I can do by myself, right? I've got a great team, Canadian Blind Hockey, from our executive director, our marketing manager, but then just like the dozens and dozens of volunteers from across the country. We would not be who we are today if it wasn't for having amazing volunteers. And I can definitely go on the record and say that, but it's so true.
You said Team Canada, your brother plays for. So are there international events?
Yeah, so part of our goal is, and it's funny, we created this goal back in 2009, and it shows you how important it is to create goals, but yet how far goals can be.
Yeah.
Right. So our end goal with the organization is we feel that the sport is inclusive enough to apply for inclusion in the Winter Paralympic Games.
Love it.
Right. And that's the end goal.
I'm sorry. I'm shocked it's not.
One day it will be.
Yeah,
And I promise you guys,
soon.
I got 2 tickets waiting for you guys
Let's
at
go.
Canada's game, but it will be in time.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of work.
Okay.
A lot of work that goes into it. For example, you need to have 8 international countries.
Got it.
And to get to what you just touched on, international, currently only Canada and USA, the 2 powerhouse countries, have international blind hockey teams. Right. But we are helping countries, right? Like England, like Sweden, like Finland, grow these programs so they can create national teams, right? Like I've had the amazing opportunity to travel to Russia and to Finland to help them create these programs.
Amazing.
With the goal from creating the program, it's very simple. You create the grassroots program. From there, you build and develop. So one day you could host a national team and get them on the ice, right? So we're getting closer. And I always say this, we're closer today than we were 10 years ago.
For sure.
So I'm excited to see how much closer we'll be in another 10 years, right? But that is the end goal, inclusion in the Paralympic Games, right?
How many teams are in Canada?
So in Canada, we have 15 programs.
Okay.
So we are not responsible for all 15 programs, but we have great partnerships with all 15 programs. So it's super important. We are looking to actually add 3 new programs this upcoming season for the 2024-2025 season. And those are the programs that I love getting involved in, because it's like you're creating it from the ground up, right? And you get those dedicated volunteers, right? And you get those small group of players that are small but mighty, right? And they're like, I'm going to go tell all my friends about this, and they're going to want to come play. It's like perfect, right? So without knowing it, all our players are also incredible ambassadors for the sport, right? Like they're there sharing their experiences, what the sport means to them, but more importantly, how they can continue to get other people that have the same visual impairment involved.
Right. And just that feeling of not being alone. Like I think you hit a good point when you were talking about field trips. We take for granted we're at the ROM, we can participate in everything. Take that one example and then apply it to everything in their lives. And this is so good that there is a community and a place that they can go to really feel that sense of not being alone, of participating. It's
so important. Like I really think that yes, we're a sports organization, but we're a family
100%.
at the end of the day, right? Like you have some of my greatest friends now are from this community that are from now being part of my family, right? Like I'll never forget one quick story here. We were traveling back home from Detroit, and this is hilarious. So we had a big coach charter team bus coming home from Detroit, get past the border, coming in now Windsor, making our way London, and the weather's getting bad. Like nobody else can tell, but of course I'm looking out the front window. I'm like, this is a snowstorm. Like this is not good, right? Thankfully, we got to Toronto safely, but of course the bus had to stop off in Weston at my house, right? Everybody got off the bus. I didn't think everybody was going to get back on. It was just like my mom was in the kitchen boiling water. Dad asked, everybody's hungry. We're making pasta. It was like a family dinner, and there was not enough room in the house for all 30 players and coaches, but we found a way to make room, right? So if it was something so small like that, like a meal, right? Or being there for a person in the community because they needed help off the ice, right? Like one of our players, I actually brought him to become a Canadian citizen, to do his test, right? And it's like, I feel a sense of rewarding because for them to come to me, know they can count on me as a member of their family, that means a lot, right? So little did I think that we were creating a community family. I originally thought we were just creating a sports
organization.
right?
And, yeah.
But it shows just the power of sport, how incredible it is.
Yeah. Well, we got a mutual friend, Joel Del Grande.
Yeah.
His pops is in the...
Joseph Del Grande is what they call a beauty in our community. Right? He is the definition of a beauty. Incredible boys, great daughters, just such a family.
Yeah.
Like orchestrated man that it's great to see the 6 degrees of separation, right? To see the collaboration you guys have done, and to see how they never miss an event, right? And you know them, they're loud boys, so they're always yelling from the benches or the stands, and you know it's just
probably
so
louder than the puck.
Yeah, they can get louder than the puck, right? And but
shout out to Del Grandes.
Yeah,
nice.
Great family, great family.
Yeah. Cool. In terms of future plans, what do you kind of see? I know getting to the Paralympics is probably the biggest goal, but is there any other ambitions you guys have?
Personally, I've got a few.
Okay.
As an organization, we have a few also. But before you host the Paralympics, you actually have to host the World Championships.
Okay.
So take a couple steps back. So that's on our docket. But from a program side, I want to create as many programs as possible, right? Not only in our country, but help create programs around the world. Recently, a couple weeks ago, Hockey Canada invited us to Calgary, where they were hosting the 2024 World Para Ice Hockey Championships. So para hockey is also known as sledge hockey, which is in the Paralympics. So that's huge, knowing that partners like Hockey Canada are reaching out to us to put on this demonstration. So there was 8 countries at this tournament, and it was great because I could say successfully we had meetings with over half those countries.
Wow!
Right, so
strong interest of adopting this program.
So strong that like literally emails have already been coming in.
Incredible.
And one of the cool kind of conversations I got to have was with Italy.
Okay.
Right, so
did you do it in Italian?
So I tried, and then of course with my mother's Sicilian dialect, they started laughing at me right away, and then we kind of got speaking English, which made it a lot more understandable. But just the questions that these new countries that don't know about the sport have to ask, and it's coming from like a sport director.
Yeah.
So these are like high knowledgeable questions, and it's so important because it shows they're interested. Yeah. Right. So we're looking forward to working with like Italy and Korea and Slovakia, a couple countries that we had some conversations with about creating these grassroots programs in their country with the end goal of creating a national team. So there's another kind of team to add to the countries of, we got to get to 8, right? Yeah. So we've got 2 right now. It's how do we break this framework in 6 more countries, right? Wow. And one thing that we always thought, you got to work with those traditional hockey countries, right? Sometimes it's not those traditional countries. We're learning very quickly, right? Because you got to think about it too. Like a lot of it goes down to not only the sport history, but population size, right? So blindness is so minor compared to other disabilities in the world. Where now you look at a country like Korea that has a large population, there's a greater chance there's going to be more blind or partially sighted people in that country. Right. So that's always something that we look at. And now we're kind of moving out of the scope of traditional hockey countries into let's develop a scope and a play. How do we work with countries that are strong in parasport, right? So goalball, which is a Paralympic sport, what are some countries that have strong goalball programs, right? And how can we now use those and build that framework out into blind hockey programs in those countries?
Interesting. Yeah, that's a really interesting way to look at it too. It's just having it using it off of or kind of finding places off of things that already exist and running from that. That's interesting. If you to change a little bit of gears, but if you were to kind of I guess what keeps you motivated? Let me start with this. If you were to pick the most memorable moment or something that keeps you, if you were to rank number 1 in terms of like, this is why I do this, what story comes to mind, or what brings to light?
I've got so many memorable moments, but the reason I wake up and do what I do is because that first smile I saw in that first kid. Wow. That first kid that got on the ice, smiled when they got their jersey, helped them tie their skates, asked them who's your favorite hockey player. And traditionally you would hear like Connor McDavid, Sidney Crosby, Austin Matthews. And when this kid turned to me and said, Jason Yuha, I'm like, wow, you are a diehard blind hockey fan, right? And it's those moments that keep me going, to be very honest with you. It's the conversations I have with families where they never think or thought that their son or daughter would go on to post-secondary education or find love or ever find a career. But then they look around the room and they see the amazing ambassadors we have, right? Our captain from our national team, Kelly Serbu, is a judge in Nova Scotia.
Wow.
Right? We've got players on our national team that are entrepreneurs, started their own businesses. One's a teacher, right? These individuals are not letting their disability stop them from achieving some of the greatest goals in life, right? So when a family of a son or daughter has a visual impairment and they see these role models, it gives them hope. Because I'll be honest with you, when my brother lost his vision at 17, we didn't really have that hope, right? Like there was a lot of late nights, dark nights hearing my mom and dad like
It's a big shift.
communicating with each other, hearing my mom cry about things.
Yeah.
We never had that sounding board,
Right.
We never had that community. So now building this community, there's parents that go to my parents and asking my mom and dad, how did you deal with this and that, right? And the biggest thing is we just want them to let them know, like, you're not alone, right? You're part of this extended family now from across this country that's here to help you.
Yeah.
And I think that needs to be really emphasized.
Well, you got two new supporters here. You gave us these beautiful hats. We'll be rocking it every chance I can.
Thank you guys. Thank you for all your work you guys are doing to help us.
Man, it's the least we can do. When you threw me that shirt, I was dying to wear it on air. I was looking for the right episode to do it. Episode 50, I'm like, I got to rock this shirt.
Yeah.
You guys are truly doing God's work, man. You're doing stuff that I think there was a big gap in society for, and now it's like so incredible. I knew a little bit about it, but hearing this interview is so much more. Like I can only imagine how many families are being impacted. So if there's anyone looking to like help fund or partnership with you guys, what's the best approach with that? Or what would help you guys move the foundation forward?
That's a great question. We're always looking for new partners. We're always looking for new volunteers, new coaches, new players. We're looking for everything always, right? But to get involved with Canadian Blind Hockey, it's very simple. Just visit our website, send me an email. If it's a partner, how would you like to get involved? Because we're always looking to collaborate with partners, right? And I think that's so important in today's time, collaboration. Collaboration is key. No one person can do anything themselves.
Absolutely.
Right? You need to be working with like-minded individuals that not only share the same passion, but are driven, right? Like that's so important. So we're always looking for new partners, donors, really anybody, but it all starts with visiting our website, sending me an email, sending anybody on my team an email, and I try to really respond to them as quick as I can if I'm not on the rink teaching a kid how to skate or if we're not hosting an event. But yeah, we've got some great partners that have helped us get to where we are today, and it's so important. You know, we are a sports organization that's a non-for-profit organization at the end of the day, right? So funding really goes a long way. It helps offset costs for all our participants to attend events and camps and all that.
Right.
And it's so important, right? Because a lot of, in the disability sector, there's not a lot of blind and partially sighted people that have lifelong careers, right? So we're trying to end that stigma and show that despite your disability, you still have the ability to do anything you love. And if that's just to get on the ice and play this game once a week, so be it. We're going to help you check that box off. If you're driven and you're out there and you're starting a business, well, how can we help you? Right? How can we help you? Because you've helped us.
Put your name out there.
Exactly.
How long is the season? Like a typical NHL season, or what's the?
It used to be.
Okay.
Our season used to be very typical, but now we play blind hockey year round.
Wow.
I think this year, the only month right now, and I'd knock on wood, but we don't have any program scheduled, is for August.
Wow.
So we're hosting our 2024 Summer Development Camp here in Mississauga. We've got a great partnership. Again, touch on that again. Partnerships are so important with the city of Mississauga, right? So we always look to collaborate and partner with as many different groups as possible, right? Whenever you're hosting a camp or an event, it just... add so much more to the event when you're partnering with groups, right? And I think it's so important. So summer camp will be here in July, and then August will be time to relax and prepare for the upcoming season, which traditionally starts in either September, October. Different programs across the country start on different days, all according to their ice contracts.
Got it.
So that's another fun role, looking at all the different ice contracts. How do they all line up?
Trying to organize that.
Trying to organize that. And then we start planning our triad events with the schools, their field trips. Then every year we host an Eastern regional tournament, a Western regional tournament, And our biggest tournament is our National Blind Hockey Tournament. And that takes place in Toronto every year. We're going to get you boys out there next year in Toronto.
We're in.
100%.
It's in March. Takes place at Mattamy Athletic Center.
Love it.
Next year will be our 11th annual tournament.
Nice.
So to see how far that tournament's come, the very first year we hosted it, we had 40 players. There was 4 teams of 10, and myself and Matt Morrow, our executive director, were like, well, let's hope there's no injuries.
Right.
We fast forward 10 years to this most recent tournament in March. We had over 175 athletes.
Love that, man.
Right? Not just from Canada, USA, Finland, and England, and Scotland. So to now see that the international flavors coming over, right? I love it. I absolutely love it. People actually would tell me, what's your favorite sport? And now, without even thinking about it, I'd be like, oh, blind hockey. They're like, what?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, blind hockey is my favorite sport, right? So it's so cool to see how far we've grown.
Yeah.
But I'm excited for the future.
For sure. Now, do these stream on YouTube? Like, is there a way to watch the games?
Yeah, you can watch all our games on our YouTube channel.
Okay.
They're all archived. Nice. So you could see any game from a Canada-USA game to one of our low vision development divisions.
Yeah.
Or my favorite division in our tournament is always our children and youth division.
Yeah.
Nobody celebrates harder than when a kid scores his first blind hockey goal. And I can tell you that right now, right? And one cool thing we always do is we make sure to give them the puck.
Right?
That's
so
something
great.
so small like that, but so important.
Memory lasts a lifetime.
Yeah.
That kid, like I've gotten stories, like I'll get pictures or emails or text messages throughout the year from parents, right? It's like, oh, Isaiah brought his puck today for show and tell. I'm like, perfect. I feel like I need to send Isaiah like a check for the work he's doing, right? But it's little things like that that let these kids feel like they're contributing and they're being part of a team, right? Jersey day at school, I'll get pictures from vision teachers with like a group of like 3 or 4 kids wearing their Canadian blind hockey jersey at Jersey day,
amazing.
right? And it's like, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
That right there.
You might not have the answer for this, but just a curiosity question. Like, if someone is visually impaired, how can they listen to the game? Like, as a kid at home, we used to always listen on the radio to the hockey games. Is there a program for the community to listen into that? Like, how would one?
That's a great question. For us, we really try to use YouTube to kind of help with that.
Like, is there commentators over the YouTube?
Oh yeah, we got great commentators.
Okay.
We got the voice of blind hockey, Nico Cardarelli.
Okay.
He comes up with like nicknames for every player.
Love that.
That's amazing.
You tune into a game, like we really, and this is one thing I try to instill with the organization. It's a professional approach from the top down.
Yeah. We can see that.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's one thing, right? The way we brand ourselves, the way we publicize ourselves on social media, everything we're doing, I'm looking at it through a professional lens, my team and I, right? So how accessible would a blind hockey game be if there was no play-by-play?
Right.
You know what I mean? So that right off the bat, I carry that to my heart, right? Like, no, we need to prove that this sport's accessible in all avenues, in all aspects, right? We'll have players at our tournaments that are just in the stands with their AirPods on, listening to the game on YouTube.
Oh, that's amazing!
Beautiful.
Yeah,
while it's being played live in front of them, right? And it's so important. But no, everything from top down, professional. Like I can't take credit for everything. Like I said, I've got an incredible team, but I'll see something like Hockey Canada or the Maple Leafs or the Montreal Canadiens will post on Instagram, and I'll share it with my marketing manager. I'll be like, how can we use this?
Yeah.
Switch it a little bit to kind of get our lens through it, but replicate this idea because it's genius, right? And I'm a big believer, like you don't need to recreate everything, right? But if we could find a way to kind of maybe change a little bit, tweak it, maybe it could work for us because it worked for them, right? So anything we ever do, we're always looking through a lens of finding new participants, new coaches, new volunteers, new donors, and just finding lifelong fans, really.
Well, you got 2 right here, man.
100%.
So that's on there. Yeah.
This hat ain't coming off today.
Beautiful. Yeah. So trucker hat. Okay. I'm going to shift it personally. We're going to almost wrap it up here, but a couple personal questions for you here. Okay. Lucas had a long day, just off the flight, lands in Toronto. Where are you going to eat?
Damn. Depends where I'm coming from. Because I'll be honest, I just came from Banff.
Yeah.
Like no paid free ads here, but I had the best steak ever in Banff in Alberta.
Share it.
Interesting.
International listeners. Where do you go?
Chuck's Steakhouse.
Chuck's. Okay.
Wow. Right. That was the Alberta beef platter my wife and I got. It was incredible, right?
A platter.
Yeah,
I was happy with like a tenderloin.
No, it was like 3 different 7-ounce steaks. But yeah, that's for another story. But it really all depends what time I'm landing at. And where I'm coming from, but I love pizza.
Yeah.
So
Stop that. Yeah. What's your pizza spot?
I got a couple different ones really. But sometimes it's pizza. Sometimes real close to the airport. I can't go wrong with Zets. Right?
I get that. I started following Zets recently. I'm just drooling every time I see it.
Legendary.
So there's
What's your go-to Zets order?
Probably just the chicken Slovakia because I could think it could feed a small town.
Absolutely.
Right? Like, I don't think I could. I know I can't finish it because I have never finished it. Zets is always great. There's a lot. Sometimes also though, it's just you look forward to that home cooked meal.
100%.
I'm not gonna lie to you. Right?
On the road so much.
You're on the road a lot. You're eating hotel meals. You're Uber Eating food to the hotel.
Yeah.
It's also super cool though because now I've been able to build these relationships across the country. I find myself going to the same restaurants when I'm in these small towns. So if I'm in Saskatoon, I'm at Sardinia. Which is literally owners from the same town as my dad back in Sardinia. And it's like crazy. It blew my mind away. Literally. Like, and they couldn't believe it and I couldn't believe it, right? And so if I'm there or if I'm in Montreal, you got to go to Schwartz's. You need a sandwich if you're in Montreal. So literally, if you're in Halifax at Donair, like I can't stop sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Vancouver, beautiful sushi, incredible sushi in Vancouver.
Miku, have you tried Miku out there?
No, I haven't, but now I know what I need to try.
Right on the harbor.
Perfect.
I think that was the first Canadian Miku location. They have one downtown now, but out there, something about the freshness. Vancouver sushi is just next level.
It is, right?
And so affordable.
Oh, yeah, I couldn't believe that either. And I was
it's hard
wow.
to buy in Toronto when you
So it really depends what I'm eating, where I'm eating it, and kind of what have I eaten on the most recent road trip. Right?
Yeah.
So
that's pretty good. Wow. Top pizza place in the city? Say top 3 if you don't want to piss anyone off.
Probably nobody even cares what I think for these pizza places, but let's see. Everyone's going to give you the basic 3.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to give you those. I'm going to try to go outside the realm here. I really like King Slice.
Yeah, dude, underrated.
Very underrated. My wife and I, we lived in Liberty for a bit, and King Slice was key right there on Queen West.
Yeah.
King Slice is good.
Okay, so King Slice, sorry. Have you ever tried King Slice, Joey?
I haven't had it. I know of it.
Dude, it's the size of your arm.
Yeah. It's the behemoth.
It's a king. Yeah. Great
and then
choice.
if you get that garlic
the
oil sauce on it, that's
next level.
I like the way you eat steak platters.
We got to do dinner, the 3 of us. That's for sure. I'll give Zito's a shout out. Zito's makes a special customized pizza that I always order for any family function and all that. So
what's the Luca special?
The Luca special, it's a white based pizza.
Yeah.
It's got potato.
Oh yeah.
It's got some olives. It's got some cheese. So yeah, I always love that.
Classic.
And then I've actually tried this new one recently. Pizza Nostra.
Huh. Not heard of it.
It's on Lakeshore in Port Credit.
Okay.
Very good. Very good pizza. Dave Portnoy actually gave it a very high score, and that's kind of what led me to try it. But it was, very good. Very good pizza.
Pizza Nostra.
I think I've seen that actually recently with Dave Portnoy.
Yeah, very good. I was quite shocked.
Put it on the list. Gotta check that out.
Yeah, I'm putting that one on. Yeah.
And if you guys go, call me. I'm down the road.
Done.
Beautiful.
We'll do 7 steaks, 2 pizzas.
Yeah.
Donair.
Yeah, why not?
Love it. Luca, man, I really appreciate your time,
Yeah.
sharing the word. Any way we could help promote it, we're always there for you. Definitely want to come out and check out a game.
Yeah.
And when the season starts up, we'll definitely be, putting the word out, getting people tuning in and really bringing exposure to this. Because I think, like I said, man, you're doing God's work. It's important, and glad to have your brother and someone in the community really speaking and getting that word out there.
No, guys, thank you very much for not only helping create more awareness for the sport and the organization, but just taking the time to let a guy like me talk about an organization on a pod like this. You guys have done so much great work with this podcast. What you're doing for Toronto is a city that I'm sure all 3 of us love very close to our hearts, and what you guys continue to do. So keep it up. Thank you very much. And if we can find more listeners and more viewers that watch this episode and learn about blind hockey, that's a huge success for us as an organization. That's what it comes down to.
We're going to have everything in the show notes. We're going to put highlights. We're going to link to you guys.
Yep.
Anyone out there with a child who's looking to get involved in this community, this is your premier source. Luke is the man.
Yep.
Send him that email and let's get her going.
Yeah, definitely. Send an email to myself or my team. Love to get you on the ice in any way. And I think we got to get both you guys on the ice this coming season. I'm always looking for volunteers to help with some skating programs. And let's get you guys on the ice. We'll get you guys a jersey. Make sure you got some skates that fit and a helmet. And
we could podcast from the boards.
It's so down.
On the bench,
We'll get some labs and we'll just,
yeah.
That might be one of the best podcasts ever. I'm just going to go on the record and say it.
Do you guys do any interactive stuff, like, you know, put on blindfolds to see what it's like? Do you guys have?
Yeah, we've actually done some cool concepts with that. Yeah.
Oh, very cool.
We had the TSN bar down team come out and we blindfolded them. We put on vision simulators so they could feel like what it's like to be playing as a blind hockey player.
Put us down for that.
Yeah.
We
Perfect.
definitely-
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah. We'll get a good crew together and bring some exposure and let people see kind of what the whole experience is about.
I love the idea.
Very cool.
For
All
sure.
right.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Thanks for listening to the Toronto Livings Real Estate Podcast. You could find more information on how we work over at torontolivings.com. Be sure to sign up for our newsletter to get price reports from over 150 different neighborhoods in the city each and every month.
If you got any value, please like, subscribe, and share with your friends. And if you made it this far, thanks for listening.